I know personally what it's like to feel like life is not worth it, and there's no reason to hold on. But I'm here because I chose to fight. September is Unaliving Yourself Prevention Month, and September 10th is Unaliving Yourself World Prevention Day. And I wanted to share the story of a conversation I had with a truck stop restaurant owner who was a mom and found her son, and share my story so that even if one person hears this and decides to hold on, um, it'll be worth it. This conversation needs to happen, and so many of us that struggle with mental health struggle in silence, and so conversations need to be had.
Hey cousin, we found a mom and pop place to stop. It's actually a restaurant called the 50s Twistin' Cafe or something like that. And I'll show you that there's three red trucks, a whole three red trucks that were parked here last night. And I just had a conversation with the owner because I saw a semicolon on the back of the shirt for the restaurant, and I have a semicolon tattoo. I'll tell you all about that later if you don't know what the semicolon project is. But in the meantime, I'm getting a late start because we had a long chat and I decided to get some breakfast just to say thank you. I like to spend money at the mom and pop places that have real restaurants because that's so rare these days in trucking. People always telling me about when there were restaurants and truckers used to sit around, and that just is not a thing. Hey, Clay Cousins! So, I stopped in and parked last night at this place called 50s Cafe, and this is the owner, Stephanie. This is Stephanie, and she made me pancakes and eggs and bacon, and I'm so excited because I hardly ever get places with real food. So if you are ever in, where am I?
Culver City, Kentucky.
If you're ever in Culver City, Kentucky, please come by and check them out. It's real food made with love.
I walked into the restaurant just to order some breakfast because I appreciated them having truck parking. And I saw that the lady running the restaurant had a semicolon tattoo. I have a semicolon tattoo. And so I started a conversation with her. If you don't know what semicolons represent, in writing, a semicolon is used when you want to have a continuation of the sentence. The semicolon project, they're saying, is your story isn't over yet, and it is around unaliving yourself prevention and awareness. And September is actually, unaliving yourself prevention month, and September 10th specifically is prevention day of that topic. And there's an organization called the National National Alliance of Mental Health, and they are having a moment of silence at 1 p.m. in commemoration of this and in reverence of this. And I wanted to share my own story. This lady at the restaurant shared the story of her son, and she was actually the one that found him, her and her other son, and they actually are running the restaurant together. And when I saw her t-shirt with the semicolon, I just held up my tattoo and showed it to her, and we just hugged. And she asked me if it was for someone else or for myself. And I told her that it was for myself because I actually went through a moment where I didn't see the point in being here if life was just going to be struggle and hard and just seemed not worth it on so many different levels. So that's why when people say that it's selfish of someone to do that, I know that they've never experienced that kind of pain where they just want it to end. And, people always say, why didn't they call someone? And I did. I actually had a boyfriend at the time, and he was just not supportive. He was screaming at me because I had stopped taking my antidepressants because I had gone on tour in Europe and didn't get to refill the prescription before I left. And I felt fine because I had been taking the medication. And so when I came back, I didn't take the medication. And then one day everything was awful. I also had another moment where everything just was awful. The years of 2022, 2021, they just were the hardest years I've ever had in my life. I was at the lowest I'd ever been. I was at the brokest I'd ever been. And, you reach out to people and they're like, you'll be okay, or you're always fine, or you got this. And none of that was helpful. And so it just becomes easier to pretend that you're okay. I went to a retreat, and I met a man whose son had unalived himself, and he just had so many questions. And I told him, you would never know. You would never know. Because if someone is feeling that down and in that much pain, they probably are really good at masking it. So I just wanted to say I got through it because I just kept fighting to find resources. I actually found a therapist that I could afford. And that was such a long process and so hard, because the last thing you feel like doing is anything. You don't even feel like bathing. I would be mad if I had to get out the bed to go to the bathroom. So going through the process of actually finding a therapist is really hard. So if there's someone in your life struggling, help them with that process. I actually got through it talking to hotlines, because my boyfriend was more likely to scream at me than to be empathetic. The NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Health hotline, is 1-800-950-6264. 1-800-950-6264. It's open from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. I'll put it into the description as well. There are other hotlines that you can find out there. Call, talk to a stranger, just keep fighting, because what it leaves behind is probably not something you want to do. I've spoken to several people now having this tattoo. I see other people with the tattoo or wearing t-shirts, and the conversations I have, it really impacts me in a way to understand that even the people that I thought, oh, they'll be okay, they probably won't. They probably wouldn't be. So keep fighting. I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I kept fighting. I'm glad that I'm, out here wandering the streets of America, driving a truck. I'm glad that I've learned how to manage and grow my money with the internet, and with the market, the stock market. I'm glad that I have a plan of financial freedom and wandering the entire earth as a nomad traveler. I'm glad that I kept fighting through the pain, and I'm saying this message so that you fight through the pain too, if it's something you're going through. And people will say, check up on your strong friends, but they never do. And when your strong friends call you, don't just be dismissive and say, oh, you're fine, or you'll be all right. The things that people have said to me are amazing. People are like, oh, but you're too pretty to be sad and depressed. Oh, but life is worse for somebody else. Or you have someplace to live, you have food. None of these things are helpful. Just ask the person how they need to be supported. Find out what they need from you, and actually really try to listen and help and not be dismissive, because that is the least helpful thing that can happen.
Play cousins, we got pancakes and eggs and bacon, and we are about to roll.